Mr.
Bond.
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 Bond. James Bond.
I love that we've got an intro. It's amazing.
It is.
It's
needed.
Hello, everyone watching. This is the Ultimate Bondcast. This is the second official episode of the Ultimate Bondcast, and I am Chris, one of your two amazing hosts, and I am here with Mike,
Your second amazing host, and we are here for our Valentine's Day, effectively episode, aren't we?
We are. It feels really romantic in here. The chemistry is off the charts between the two of us. And
it is.
We're almost. We've got the bed is made with the rose petals, but before the romantic evening starts, I think we should have a little Bond chat, don't you?
Absolutely. Have we got martinis at the ready, Chris?
Oh no! Don't you did this to me? I forgot that we were going to do martini glasses. I've got a nondescript bottle of water ready.
To be fair, that is
but I will
just
happily
water.
chink to you. So
that is just water for reference, but yeah.
it's not a martini. I'm so disappointed in you.
Yeah. I will just, if I can just add one thing, Chris, I would just like to do, I've been asked to do a little shout out because I believe they're watching this second, my little nephews, Dexter and William. So, hi boys. Thank you very much for joining.
Oh, hi Dexter and William.
I said I'd give you a shout out and you are there. So welcome, guys.
At least we've got viewers. That's fantastic news.
Exactly. But Valentine's Day, Chris. It's a very romantic mood, very appropriate for the BondGirls, right?
I think so. So our decision today was to have a little bit of a discussion about BondGirls. And I think what we're going to do is talk a little bit about who our favourites are, why we like them so much, and just what BondGirls bring to the franchise. I think absolutely. It's safe to say that over the course of the last 50 years, the role of a Bond girl has changed quite a lot.
I think amazingly. I think if you think about the 60s, starting where it came from, it was very much the damsel in distress, and females were portrayed so differently. But you rewind it forward to the 90s with super spies in their own right. You've got the last one, No Time to Die, a female 007, not necessarily James Bond, but a female 007. So very much an evolution, I'd say.
I'd say so too. And when we get into it, I do think we need to maybe talk a little bit about like what constitutes a Bond girl. Because if we're going to talk about our favourites, I don't want you pulling M out as your favourite Bond girl. But I'm sure we can have that argument when we get down to it. But I think before we do, we need our usual Bond news section where we take a quick look at what's been happening in the world of Bond over the past month. And there are a couple of stories, haven't there?
What we're going to do, though, as much as I enjoy the smushy music, I think we need to be a little bit a bit edgy, So we're going to come back to that music in a minute, so we're going to go with a bit of OMHSS, On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Wonderful. Yeah. This is great.
There's a little bit of news there, Chris. I've got the first article, if you do the second one, and the first one that's popped up is there is a new 007 game that has appeared on PlayStation Store.
I love
this is not the fabled Project 007 that's coming out in the next year or two, and from the makers of Hitman. This is called Spy Revenge. The actual thumbnail, it's James Bond. It's just a cartoon version. I'll read the announcement to you. It says, an unexpected announcement landed today. Agent 007 Spy Revenge, which is in its own title, announced on the PlayStation Store and is unlikely to be officially licensed to the IO Interactive game coming out shortly. It is made by Romanian developer IO Order SRL. I mean, we know they're very well known, Chris, don't we? Very well known.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I can recall all of their classic games.
All of their games.
But it looks like it's a bit of a top-down adventure game type thing.
Okay. Well, they did something similar that's been on like iOS and Android recently, hasn't they?
I think so, yeah.
I don't know.
I've seen a few YouTubers playing that game, and it's what's the word? It's bird's eye view, but it's at an angle, isn't it? So you can sort of see through the walls a little bit, and you've got to infiltrate.
Yeah.
It looks pretty good. I mean, it's not released yet. It will be coming out shortly, but it includes everything: the enemy AI. You've got to save hostages, spy on people, and you get, of course, the iconic gadgets. So, I think for pretty much a cheap little game, little tiny studio, nice to have it on the horizon.
I totally agree. And I don't know why my camera running slow on your screen.
It is. Let's face it. You are just completely blinded with affection for this show. That's what it is.
I think it must be. I'm talking fine, but I don't know what's going on with that screen.
I'm sure it will clear up, Chris.
Yeah, it'll clear up.
It'll
clear up. But anyway, yeah. So, what was the second article you wanted to discuss?
I mean, I hate to say it because we do tend to go a little bit bleak at times. Did you buy our last show? There was another death, Chris, a death in the world of James Bond.
Yeah. It's sad, isn't it?
We need to treat this a little bit more severity because there was a couple of criticisms. We were a little bit too happy on the previous announcement. So
it was criticism. We were happy at the last announcement.
Just a little. Well, I think it was our own criticisms. We were like, a little mellow. But yeah. So Emilio Echevarrio. Now he is the gentleman that played our little crime mob boss in Die Another Day. In Cuba, he sort of assists Bond getting his Cuban car. He's got his Cuban cigars. He found Zhao in the health clinic. So yeah, he died this week, from what I'm reading. Born 1944. I can't do the math. What brings it up to him on his date, on his age? But I'm sure thoughts with his family. And at the end of the day, he is immortalized in not one of the best movies ever, but certainly a known relevant part in Bond history.
It is really sad, and I think it's one of those where it's such a big franchise that's gone on for so long that you can't help but have somebody that that's been involved in the franchise 50 years ago that's unfortunately passed away. It's just a fact of life, isn't it? But it just shows the longevity of Bond that you keep seeing these stories of people that were important to the franchise that are unfortunately no longer with us. But it's just a fact of life, isn't it? But it's just so great that we get to talk about them one more time.
And there's some immortalization from that. So love to the families of Emilio. From there,
absolutely.
That is our news segment over, Chris. So on that basis, back to the mushy, and I have got to, if you don't mind, do a couple of shout outs on the live chat. Our great friend Lorenzo is making his presence known. So hi Lorenzo, hello to the ultimate Bondcast, the greatness of the BondGirls. Oh yes, indeed.
I like that.
Lorenzo's awesome. But feel free to comment, join the chat, talk to us what's going on. Also, right, before we do our countdown, Chris, we did a poll on our Facebook page. It started on Sunday. Still running today. But I was really chuffed with the amount of responses we got from lots of different Bond fans. And this is across a lot of different Facebook Bond groups. So thank you very much to the creators for allowing me to post it. You accepted it, and I really appreciate you doing so, because we're sharing more love about Bond. It's not so much about us, it's about the concept. There is some funny answers though, Chris. Would you like to hear them?
Oh, I can't wait. Yeah.
So I've asked them basically, who was your favourite Bond girl? Now, first one was quite a unique one. Andrew Wilson commented and said Zoe Nightshade. Do you remember who she was?
No, I don't. Please indulge me.
She was in the video games. She was Agent Under Fire and Nightfire. She double backed on those.
Right, okay. That's a deep cut.
It counts. That counts.
We need to play them again. I haven't played Agent Under Fire for what feels like 20 years. I
did try the other day. The controller is just outrageous, but I'm willing to give it a shot.
I can imagine.
Simon Taylor commented, made me laugh quite a bit. Simon Taylor said, "This is beyond hard."
It's tough. I really struggled. Yeah. I feel his pain
completely. Tony Mangino has said his favourite was Tracy, Diana Rigg. which we know to be Mrs. Bond.
Yes.
Fred
yes.
Rochora is gone for the OG. Sylvia Trench, Eunice Gayson.
Sylvia Trench. I mean, she's the first you see on screen, isn't she? So
She is, yeah. She's
Yeah,
not the literary, but she's
classic.
the first cinematic Bond girl. So yeah.
yeah, I can't argue. with
Followed by Adam Howard's favourite. So hi, Adam. Is Honey Rider.
Yeah.
Which
That
is
makes sense.
also
that. Ursula Andress.
very, very, very valid option.
Mhm.
I'll keep going. We've got a couple more. So Daniel Banda, he has said Eva Green as Vesper Lynn is his favourite one, which I can't fault.
Yeah, I think Vesper would be up there on a lot of lists, surely.
Yeah, I agree. We've got three more to read. We've got Arta Berg. He has said his favourite is Barbara Bach, who was Major Amasova, Spy Who Loved Me.
Yeah, okay.
Which is incredible.
Such
Glenn McConnell likes, and I didn't know who this one, if I'm being honest, was, but he said Glenn's favourite is Jill St. John, who is Tiffany Case from Diamonds Are Forever, the redhead.
Oh yeah, okay.
Interesting.
I really
one
liked
there.
her actually. I mean, I haven't put her on the list, but she was, I liked having this. It felt like the first time was it that we had really an American Bond girl, somebody who was, it was a different kind of Bond girl. I felt.
I think she was an authentic Bond girl as well,
Yeah, I think
authentically
you're right.
American, not
Yeah.
a dubbed voice and all that.
Mhm.
And the last one will make you probably wet your bed quite well, Chris. Javier Ramos, favorite Bond girl, Blofeld's cat.
Wow. I mean, there's pussy galore and there's pussy on his lap, I suppose.
Yeah, I wasn't sure really how to treat that one.
We're a
Have a bit of
family-friendly
Martini.
show, Mike. No,
We
it's
are.
it's brilliant. I love that. There's some really, really good choices. So
Yeah,
thank you to everyone for that.
Really appreciate you contributing. They are valid.
Absolutely.
We will read them out when we get the feedback from you guys. So thank you.
So I guess where we are now really is that into the meat of the show. I think we need to have a discussion now about Bond girls, our favorite Bond girls, and what they brought to the franchise. Really,
Absolutely. Yeah. Are we going to do it as a top five, or are we just going to spitball, or what do you
I've
think?
got my top five.
I have. Yeah.
I tell you what, if we want to, should we go one at a time, go from five to one, and just sort of have a chat and see how we get on with it? Happy for you to lead off.
Okay.
Who's your five?
So my fifth one. I actually wrote this down because it was such a hard subject. I didn't want to. It is like candy from a sweet shop. You don't really know which way to turn and what angle to go at. So number five, I just went old school classic, and it was Honor Blackman playing Pussy Galore in Goldfinger, because she is definitely one of the most definitive Bond girls in terms of the screen, I think. And there was also some pretty, I don't know, good. There was good acting from her because she was confident. She channeled that feminism and the beauty that she had, because she was an absolute stunner. Let's be honest, she really was. And at the same time, she could handle a gun or a fight. She even tackled Bond, if you remember rightly, in Goldfinger.
She did. She, I completely agree with you. And Pussy Galore makes it onto my list as well. She is higher than 5 for me. I do really think that she is a quintessential Bond girl. I think I think Pussy Galore is kind of the poster child for Bond girls. In the as the films went on, I feel like Pussy Galore is the embodiment of what a classic Bond girl is. She's made it to number 2 on my list, actually, because of that.
Oh, okay.
Because I think that she is so quintessential. I really like with Pussy Galore that she is kind of a bad girl that Bond, with his, she can't resist Bond's charms to the point that she completely, loses everything that she believes in, and becomes a force for good at the end of the movie. So I love that.
You think comparatively, so you had Dr. No from Russia with Love before it. compare the contrast of the Bond girls. You know, you had Tatiana Romanova, and then you had Honey Rider. Compare that to Pussy Galore, and despite the name being memorable, she was brilliant. She absolutely owned the screen. I think Connery was competing at times for the for screen time. You know,
I mean, I think she was the best actress in out of any of the three that you mentioned there, with Tatiana and with Honey. I think that that Honor Blackman really held the screen very well against Sean Connery. I think that she played off him incredibly well. And you mentioned about her beauty as well. I don't think there's any argument that every girl that is on this list is beautiful as well. You know, that's so difficult to choose. But yeah, no, I completely agree. Everything that you're saying there, she holds the screen just as well as Sean Connery does and gives as good as she gets. And that's why Pussy Galore made it so high on my list.
Yeah, and I think anybody would sort of be in the same frame of mind if they were to do their own top five. Put on the chat though, by the way, while we're doing this, tell us who's your favourite.
Well, we've got Lorenzo in the chat who's actually said that Electra King is up there for him. So, and I can't argue with that either. I think Electra King was great.
She's not on my list, but I love Electra King. I think she was a brilliant villain, and Bond girl in her own right. So, Lorenzo, you've totally got it right. Absolutely.
I completely agree. And she was a good villain. You know, it was a great twist. The Electra King twist that you really didn't. I didn't see it coming. I don't think the first time I watched it, but I was a kid at the time. But you know, I love the twist that she is the villain. And yes, I think she's really good.
Who was your number 5, Chris? So Pussy Galore's number 2. We've established that. Who was your 5th one?
My number 5 is Xenia Onatopp.
Now this is weird. She's in my list somewhere.
Is she?
Yes.
Okay.
This is weird. We're already 2 in, and we're the same. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's good.
Okay.
It's good. So, I mean, Xenia. You know, you could have picked. You know, Natalia if you'd have wanted. I think Xenia is such a memorable Bond girl in that she takes that sort of perverse delight in the way that she kind of tortures and kills her victims. She's such a great femme fatale, with the Eastern European accent, you know, the exotic look. The fact that she's always all in black and her hair up. There's just so much good about Xenia Onatopp.
She did that. I think for me, I was 5 when GoldenEye originally came out.
Yeah,
and I didn't even know what female attraction was, and then I saw Xenia Onatopp, leather clad with an AK-47,
with her legs wrapped around Bond. Yeah, and squeezing the life out of him.
And there was a question. Oh, why do I like this? You know, and apparently she was the absolute bomb. Just for reference, Chris, she was my number 2. Where your
so we both had the equivalent 2 and 5. Wow, look,
I think that's so weird. That is so weird, man.
We both just have great taste in Bond girls, Mike. That is the thing.
Or we're just, do you know what? We're playing to the audience. Is this a script? I don't know.
Absolutely. I mean, and with Xenia, Famke Janssen is such a great actress as well, and again, such a natural beauty. And she was somebody that I don't think I'd seen on screen before, but then became, good jumping off point for her. Became really famous off of the back of GoldenEye and a couple of other movies in the 90s. Went on to do X-Men.
She went into X-Men, didn't she? Yeah, she was Jean Grey, wasn't she, in the Phoenix? If I remember rightly.
Yeah, she was Jean Grey. So she did well after GoldenEye. One of those rare Bond girls that sort of avoided that Bond girl curse of, being typecast for the rest of their lives after playing a Bond girl. But no, she did really well for herself.
Fair play to her. And do you know what? I think if you look at her sort of adaptation, the role, her acting. It's very diverse. You might sneer, but if you think, I can think of, she was in Taken, with Liam Neeson as the wife, so the concerned mother. You had the psychopathic killer in GoldenEye. And then you had a superhero that doesn't have any control of her abilities, not really, at the cast of her own destruction.
Yeah, I mean she's done so much, and but as Xenia, I think she was amazing, and in a way was kind of, I don't know, like, would you say, I wouldn't say funny, but there was something fun about the way that she was. Her sexual chemistry with Bond on screen was really evident as well.
Yes,
the scene where they fight in the spa is excellent. Her death is awesome. The way that she gets pulled into that tree and she ends up asphyxiating herself is so cool. So I love it.
Literally just I think she just rips her joints, doesn't she, when she's
she probably breaks her back.
And you just think, you know what? And what was it? She also did enjoy a good squeeze.
Yes, yeah, exactly. I mean, you can't beat a good Bond one-liner.
No. So that was our fives, and strange enough, we've swapped places, so that's quite weird. But hey, number 4, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like Lorenzo might have stolen my thunder in the comments because I agree with it completely. Number 4 is Michelle Yeoh as Wei Lin in Tomorrow Never Dies. Because she, for me, was the first Bond girl not to be considered the damsel, if that makes sense. She was an agent. She was kick-ass. She didn't rely on stunt doubles. She could do everything herself. Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. She definitely gave Pierce Brosnan a run for his money in Tomorrow Never Dies.
Oh, she really did.
A Bond movie is a joint venture, isn't it? You go into it and you are surrounded by the villain Bond and the girl. And to be honest, it was really fresh to see a Bond girl really embracing the 90s and being that action hero. So number 4, Wei Lin, Tomorrow Never Dies.
I think it's an excellent choice. And do you know why it's such an excellent choice, Mike? It's such an excellent choice because she's also my number 4 as well.
Oh my God! This is so weird.
This is so good.
How weird is this?
It also means we're not going to be talking about many Bond girls because we're just going to be discussing the same 5. But I love Wei Lin as well. Another actress, Michelle Yeoh, who went on to do great things after, and was doing great things before as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
But
I think she did House of the Flying Daggers. I think she did her own piece in that, and she was in Everywhere All at the Same Time.
Everything Everywhere All at Once. Yeah, my favorite movie of like the last 5 years. I loved her in that movie. So I think she's fantastic in that. And I agree with you in everything that you said. She wasn't a damsel in distress. She was strong. She brought something different to the movies that we're used to seeing the same type of Bond girl, I guess. And she gave us something different and something extra, I think. Somebody that could stand up to Pierce Brosnan's Bond.
It really broke tradition, I think, and that's why she's a standout for me, because she has got a place in the history for that reason.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Number 3. Now, do you want to go first, and then I'll see if I've got anywhere near?
Yeah, we can do, because we're probably say the same ones anyway. My number 3 is, sorry, I'm going slow again. I think it must be my iPad.
I'm closing my eyes because I'm dreading this. Go on.
Number 3 is Solitaire.
No,
Jane Seymour.
No. She's on. I'm not kidding. I will show you my list once we've completed it. She's on my list. Oh my God! In number 3. Number 3.
Wow. It's almost like we do a podcast together. So Solitaire for me,
crazy.
My first crush when I was a kid. Jane Seymour is incredible in this. Live and Let Die was one of my favorite Bond movies as a child as well, and still is up there. I still think it's a great Bond movie. But when I was a kid, definitely one of my favorite movies. I love the setting, and I think her character being this sort of voodoo priestess does she have psychic powers? Is she clairvoyant? Isn't she? And just never really answering that as well. But also, I mean, she's a sort of standard Bond girl, damsel in distress type. But Jane Seymour is so good in it and so young. She does so well on screen. With
no discrimination to Jane Seymour, but she was the typical damsel. Yeah. But not to say her performance is underplayed. It's not.
No, not at all. Not at all.
And I think it's a bold, very right choice, clearly, because I'm in number 3 as well.
I love that. That's fantastic.
Excuse me if I'm coughing, by the way. It is winter in the UK, and there is a cough. So I'm so sorry for that.
It's all right. It's all right. You're coughing and I'm stuttering over here, so we're all good.
We've done number 2 because they're in reverse, aren't they? So I chose Xenia there, and you chose Pussy Galore in number 2.
I did, yeah. I kind of can't believe we've smashed through this top 5 so quickly because we both have all of the same. And I will almost put my house on us having the same number 1 as well.
Oh, and now this would be debatable. Hopefully, for the sake of content, it's not the same. But hey,
true.
You go first, Chris. I think you do your bit, and I don't want to tempt fate. Come on.
So, I don't know if you're aware, Mike, but in 2006 there was a little Bond movie called Casino Royale.
Yeah.
And in that movie, we get a brand new Bond, Daniel Craig, who, has got to make an impression after Pierce Brosnan. They're reinventing Bond, and they obviously, at the same time as they have Daniel Craig, they need a Bond girl that's going to match up to Daniel Craig. And in walks Eva Green as Vesper Lind. And absolutely, I can't see anything because of your green screen. But I'm assuming you're showing me Vesper Lind as number 1.
I'm going to do a world first on our podcast, Chris, and I will be inclined to drop the background just for a second because I want to
see inside the Bond house.
You do, you absolutely do. If I'm being honest, I can't remember how to change it, but I'm going to give it a shot. So give me a second. Because I think this is beyond crazy. We absolutely haven't planned this, have we, Chris?
We have not.
This is crazy. No, I can't drop it. You'll have to take my word for it. But truthfully, it's on the list there. And we are, apart from Pussy Galore and Xenia on the top being side by side. Sorry, the other way around.
I just can't believe that.
Eva Green's number 1.
Why is Eva Green your number 1?
So, Eva Green, number 1. I had, in 2006, an absolute enormous crush on Eva Green. I tell you now, I just think she's not just with makeup. She's stunningly beautiful. She's naturally beautiful. And at the same time, you could argue she's a damsel because she can't fight or shoot guns or anything like that. But there's an aura of confidence and a bit of smarm, the way Bond has his smarm as well, about reading the room and who he's within at the moment. So I think for me, she was just, I don't know, she was sexy, but she also was the Bond girl that we know literally made Bond into Bond. He fell in love with her, got hurt, broken, betrayed, shaped his views on women to come in the future. So you could argue she is the Bond girl.
I completely agree with you. Everything you've just said. The thing with Eva Green's Vesper is, I think it was the most believable romance that Bond has ever had. I felt, and there was so much depth to her character as well. Just her alone, the trouble she was going through with her husband, and the emotion that she gets to show on screen. And the fact that she is manipulated behind the scenes and we don't know that. And I just think she does so much. She's got so much range just in the one movie. And you really feel for Bond when she goes. I did not feel for Bond in the same way when Diana Rigg went at the end of On Her Majesty's Secret Service, who I maybe unpopularly, I don't think was that good a Bond girl.
No, I think Diana Rigg she was wonderful, don't get me wrong, but I agree she's probably not as, and for me certainly, as a stapled Bond girl as some people might feel as well. Not to say that anybody else's opinion's wrong.
No, not at all. It's all subjective.
An interesting fact for you, Chris, I found this out only a couple of weeks ago. So George Lazenby did an interview regarding his downfall from Bond, how he didn't get into the role again and all that. And one of the reasons why he didn't want to come back, apparently, the director John Glenn apparently worked him into the ground for that scene. He literally
Really?
didn't let him sleep for 24 hours. And then it was 24 hours later they filmed it to try and make him as distraught as possible. So when George Lazenby filmed that scene, he was absolutely knackered. And
Wow.
I think if you look back, that will probably resonate when you see that again in the future. But he was,
I
he
wouldn't
was,
be surprised.
he was an absolute workhorse. That's pretty shocking when you think about it, really.
Yeah, it really is. It's crazy, isn't it?
I think
Sorry, I'm so distracted by the fact that I'm so delayed on my video screen. Apologies. I can't stop looking at myself.
If you get distracted, Chris, just go for the martini. That's what
I
I'm doing,
need to,
mate.
don't
I won't go for martini. No.
I'm audio only at the minute. It's fine.
So we've done our top 5. And
Yeah.
pretty crazy. But let's go into sort of the eras. So we've got our 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and noughties essentially. What's the definition? How are things developed? 60s. Let's go from there.
I mean, in the 60s, I think I think the 60s and the 70s, the Bond girls are quite disposable, and they don't. There are exceptions to that, but I think the Bond girls are written in a type of way that just means that they are almost superfluous to the plot in some respects. I mean, like Kissy Suzuki. I mean, I don't think has a great deal to do in her movie at all. I think Sean Connery's Bond girls, other than Pussy Galore for me, are they don't do themselves any favors, or they don't do, they're not written to do them any favors.
I think I know where you're going. We're not going to say that they're weak, because no women are weak.
They're just definitely not.
In the countdown, they're sort of
they're written weak,
significant. Yeah. I suppose you could argue that. But as with all the Bond movies, they're a creature of their time. And the 60s was, let's face it, an extremely different world to where we are now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with that. They were very much damsels. They were sexual objects. Let's be honest. Not taken seriously. And some of the things that Bond and maybe some of the henchmen or Bond villains did, you wouldn't get away with now. Like there was a slap at the bottom, and slap, even abuse, slap in the face. You wouldn't do that now, and you certainly won't get away with it on screen.
No, you're right.
Daring, So,
Yeah.
70s, Chris, 70s. So you're a Jane Seymour fan. Live and Let Die is where it started. So go on.
I mean, I really like the 70s Bond girls. I think that just Roger Moore's Bond girls, I guess, in general, I think you start to see a little bit of a turnaround, don't you? There's still some, but when you're looking at Spy Who Loved Me, I think that they start to become characters who can hold their own, and I think that's what you really want to see with the later Bond movies, and that sort of gets better and better as the years go on. What about you?
I think the 70s was definitely a turning point. You still had a lot of damsels, don't get me wrong, but there are some notable people that. How do I put it? I need to be really calm, so I'm not going to put this across as any misogyny. But there was people like, for example, what was her name? Dr. Goodhead. Now, Dr. Goodhead, astrophysicist, maybe, but certainly not a CIA agent. I'm sorry, she didn't play that well. So I respect the fact that they were looking to try and bring the agent girl in at this stage. But in the 70s, I don't think it quite hit the mark. It was a little bit off. And the damsels thing still mattered. And I think it blended well with the Roger Moore sort of more relaxed, comical era, allowing him to sort of maintain stage in the film. So not against the 70s. There's a lot of movies I love made in the 70s from Bond. But I just feel some of them lack the punch that the later ones do.
Yeah, I think some of the best double entendre names, though, like some of the best of those, insinuating names like Goodhead, and I think it's just so funny that Bond continues to do that, and even into the 90s, we start getting like On a Top is clearly a double meaning name, and I love that they just go there with Bond. I think it's hilarious.
They didn't have any fear either, did they? That's the thing. Whereas I think the world was slightly more oppressed in the 70s. But as we progressed into the 1980s, I think there was a turning point.
Well, why is it that the end of a Bond film never feels as satisfying as when Bond and the female Bond girl just end up in each other's arms while Q is on some radio somewhere trying to get Bond,
despairing, oh really,
Bond is constantly attempting re-entry, it's just...
that moment, I think it was the Spy Who Loved Me at the end, where he's like, I'm keeping the British end up, sir.
Yes, it is.
And
on the water as well. They're always on the water.
Cringe, but it sounds so right at the moment,
It does.
With the 80s, there was a turning point, without a doubt. Because if you think about the 80s, the world changed already. The Cold War was falling.
Yeah.
Dalton became Bond, taking over for Moore, because at the end of the day, he was far too old at the end. Let's be honest. It was great Bond, but he outstayed his welcome. And I think
Octopussy should have been the last Roger Moore film. That was the way to go.
Because the last two movies before A View to a Kill, I think Roger Moore displayed a rather energised Bond. For Your Eyes Only, Octopussy, it was quite high octane. But A View to Kill, I loved the movie, but I didn't like him as Bond in that one.
No.
Maybe unpopular, but when it turned to Dalton had a serious, darker tone, which I've mentioned before. I friggin' love the take on that. And his Bond girls had to reflect that. And also the world was heavily consumed with the AIDS pandemic. So sexual protection was a lot more carefully managed. You won't see Bond in bed with a girl. You might just see him in her arms on a sofa. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
That was sort of the turning point. But was it the cellist? I can't remember her name. What was her name in Living Daylights?
Oh, I know you mean. I can't remember her name either. I always struggle with the Bond girls in the Dalton
Cara.
films. Yes.
Cara Malothy. Yes. She really surprised me because you thought she was going to be a damsel. You did. Let's be honest. At the very beginning. Yeah. And then she's holding an absolute sniper out the window. And you're like, whoa.
She was probably the most normal person, I think, out of any of the Bond girls. She was the most that you could just be like, this is just a normal person who's got dragged into this larger than life situation, whereas all of the others present themselves as being exotic or rich or out for nefarious reasons. This is just a woman who's ended up getting dragged along for the ride.
I agree,
and I really liked that about her.
And we had the other iconic where she rode a horse, she gone down runway, she flew a goddamn warplane, she used an AK-47. I really liked Cara Malothy in the Living Daylights. She was so, and this was a turning point, wasn't it? Because the 80s then gave us License to Kill, which was still one of the most controversial movies in the saga. The Bond girls were a lot more serious. There was no corny lines at all. It was I think the Bond girl was abused. She was abused, wasn't she?
Yes, I think she was.
Dark.
Yeah, I think so. It is. But that was a really dark film. In and of itself, it was the first 15 rated Bond movie, and for good reason. Poor Felix Leiter, he isn't half the man he used to be after that movie.
Oh. Though he's miraculously okay in Casino Royale, but
he's fine. That gets into really difficult Bond, the timeline theories, doesn't it?
Oh, it does. I mean, so then you got your 90s era, haven't you? Which, we've already mentioned Michelle Yeoh, as Wei Lin and Xenia on a top. Electra King, even, thank you, Lorenzo. and then you had Jinx in Die Another Day. They were all phenomenal. Not always the best movie, but they were a phenomenal Bond girl.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I was holding on to my hot take for this episode. I think Pierce Brosnan's Bond girls are the best collection of Bond girls out of any of the movies. Like pound for pound, I think you've got really, really excellent Bond girls across the board. I think people give Dr. Christmas Jones a lot of hate. I know she walks around the entire time looking like she's cosplaying as Tomb Raider, but I think Christmas Jones and another silly innuendo name, I guess, or that Christmas only comes once a year and all that jazz.
I don't think there's any other Bond that could deliver that line other than Pierce Brosnan. Though.
No, I mean, I love
not even Roger Moore could do that line.
No, I don't think so. But yeah, so the Bond girls, I mean, I don't know if I love Jinx. I think Jinx was written really badly. I think she had some terrible lines. But even I remember Rosamund Pike in Die Another Day as well. She's amazing.
Yeah, Miranda Frost.
Frost, yeah.
And they both undergone fight training, didn't they, with the blades and all that to do this. So Die Another Day has its flaws. There's no denying it,
No. Yep.
But the Bond girls were not that. They weren't the biggest problem.
I mean, Terry Hatcher in Tomorrow Never Dies as well, one of my favorite Bond movies. I had such a crush on her from The New Adventures of Superman, and then seeing her in Tomorrow Never Dies was a dream come true. So
and there's so many good Bond girls. She was an old flame. She knew Bond at some point. So
they had history.
In timeline context, was that Timothy Dalton? Bond
maybe
could be the in-between era before it started again.
If we're going on chronology, maybe it was Daniel Craig. If he came first, who knows?
It could be. It's not out the possibility, but that then leads us very nicely into the noughties, which is a bit of a strange place because, as we pointed out, no one really has a definitive answer of where Daniel Craig's Bond fits. So, for the sake of variety, let's just assume that Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace are at the beginning of the Bond saga, and everything else is after Die Another Day. Do you think that's an idea?
I mean, I'm happy to do that. I think for the purposes of this, we can just talk about Daniel Craig's movies. But yeah, I agree with you that there's a timeline we need to nail down at some point. We'll
do this. We will do this, mate. We will do this.
I think after Pierce Brosnan, the heights of Pierce Brosnan's Bond girls, this is the weakest collection of Bond girls, and purely because they hit such a height with Vesper that the shadow of Vesper looms large over the next few Bond movies, and there isn't really a Bond girl in Quantum of Solace. We've obviously got Olga, who Lorenzo said was great, and I do like Olga, but it's not really a romance, is it?
She wasn't really. They were just sort of traumatized orphans, both of them, really, trying to find their way and deal with their anger and their issues. So, I mean, yes, she's a Bond girl, but she's not a real, definitive normal Bond girl. I don't mean to sound, fickle on Olga, because I think she was very good in that movie. But Skyfall, remember rightly, I don't think it had a Bond girl, did it not? It was M. M was the Bond girl, technically.
M was the Bond girl in that one. I just think, and Léa Seydoux's character in leading off Inspector and No Time to Die, I just didn't believe their relationship. I didn't like them together.
Yeah. I wanted to, but I didn't.
Yeah. I mean, it could have been so good, but the first Bond girl, I think, that was the main Bond girl of more than one Bond movie as well. So
it's a shame, really, because it didn't quite pass off, and in some ways, because she was revisited in No Time to Die from Spectre. You had End of Spectre where they just essentially drove off into sunset, and that would have been a nice little crossover for Daniel Craig.
That'd been a better way to end Daniel Craig's run than killing him off. I mean, personally,
it does leave a lot to get your head round.
Do you think if Spectre had been universally loved like Skyfall, that might have been his last movie? Do you think he came back for one more partly because he felt like he had unfinished business?
I think he just wanted to round it off, and I think Daniel Craig being a relatively brash individual, was quite keen to make sure the decision was made for him that he wasn't going to come back. Do you know what I mean? And by killing him, his version, that becomes, well, that's it. Door closed, so it's a bit of an open egg situation, that one. But I think that I think your point is right. The noughties, or the Daniel Craig BondGirls, besides Vesper, were quite weak and not the most memorable. Again, not undervaluing any female performance. We're not about this on this channel, but when you compare,
we're going on
there's a lot
BondGirl,
better,
aren't we?
Yeah. There's a lot more to get your teeth into in that, I think, really. So, but I mean, I think what we need to bear in mind, Chris, as well, is that there's a lot of BondGirls out there, but I think we need to bear in mind that there's probably a lot we haven't mentioned.
100%.
For you wonderful people out there, just because we want to show you exactly what it is, we've got a little under-minute, 2-minute montage to show you every BondGirl that's ever been out there. Check this out.
What's your name?
Ryder. Honey, Ryder.
So you're Tatiana Romanova.
My friends call me Tanya.
My name is Pussy Galore.
I must be dreaming. My dear uncooperative Domino.
How do you know that? How do you know my friends call me Domino?
It's on the bracelet on your ankle.
So, what sharp little eyes you've got.
Therese was a saint. I'm known as Tracy.
The T is for Tiffany.
Tiffany Case. Definitely distinctive.
Black Queen on the Red King, Miss...
Solitaire.
A toast. Per ora e per il momento che verrà. To this moment and the moment yet to come. Buy you a drink? Major Amasova? Or may I call you Triple X?
Holly Goodhead. I'm fully trained. On loan from NASA.
Melina, Sir Havelock's daughter.
And Greek women like Electra always avenged their loved ones.
I wondered when you might arrive.
So you are the mysterious optimist.
I'm Stacy. Sutton.
Cara Milovi, talented scholarship cellist.
La Señorita Bouvier.
Me change.
He's with me.
My name is Natalia Simonova. I was a systems programmer at Severna facility.
I want you to meet Wei Lin, new China news agency.
Don't get any ideas, Mr. Bond. Dr. Jones. Christmas Jones. And don't make any jokes, I've heard them all.
Jacinta Johnson. My friends call me Jinx.
I'm the mummy.
Vesper.
Nice to see you.
Alive, you mean?
My name is Dr. Madeline Swan.
Wow. Do you know what? You honestly forget how many there has been in the time, don't you, really? I can't believe I forgot about Pam Bouvier in License to Kill. There was a Bond girl, and she's probably one of my favourites. But that is just, I think we need to do that to incorporate everybody, because that way we are being fair to all of our viewers, all two of them, to make sure that we're incorporating their views, really. Was there any surprise there that you forgot about, Chris, in the montage?
I mean, I don't think so. I mean, part of my problem is that nothing seems to be moving properly on my screen, so I think I got about 4 still images in that 2-minute period. But I mean, there's still some that I think blend into one another, and I think that's partly down. That's not down to the actresses. That's down to the writing at times for BondGirls, because I think sometimes they're inserted into a story to tick a box. But I mean, there are so many that are good, and I probably do give people like Diana Rigg a hard time because I don't love the movie. Whereas, you know, the fact that that's James Bond's wife, that's so significant in the, you know, the era of James Bond that it was, that he could settle down with somebody. And it's such a shocking end to the movie as well. It's probably the most shocking ending other than No Time to Die, really. It just sort of comes out of left field.
Oh, we've actually just had a comment on the private chat.
Nice.
Nick Foxglove, hello. Moneypenny. She said, Moneypenny, what about her?
So,
yeah.
I completely agree. I don't know. I think, does Moneypenny count as a Bond girl? I think that's the question we've got to answer.
She slides between the gap, literally, doesn't she? You could call her a Bond girl, but she's not the one that you think of. Like, if you search for Bond girls on Google, would she come up? Probably not.
She's the one that got away for Bond, I think.
Yeah, unless you're referring to Skyfall, where we find out a bit more about their relationship. Who would have thought that Lois Maxwell actually shot him earlier in their life?
Yeah, I know, right?
Very interesting from there. But no, I think, if I'm not mistaken, that brings us to the close of the Bond Girl chat.
Yeah,
because
I think
we've been more, considering we had a shared top 5 that was all the same. We've stretched it out quite nicely, I think.
I think we've done really well, and I love these sorts of chats about our favourites of things. So I definitely think we'll be doing more lists in the future, as we move along this sort of podcast journey. But I think we've done really well with the Bond Girls. Please drop in the comments and let us know your favourite Bond Girls. We would love to see your lists, and we will mention them in future episodes if you do. So please, let us know. Before we sign off, is there anything that you wanted to raise or to plug?
Yeah, just a couple of things. So first of all, just want to say again a massive thank you to everybody that's subscribing to the channel, following us on Facebook, commenting, engaging with the post. It's amazing because, as we've always said, we're building this channel for you as the Bond fans. It's not about us. We're doing this because we want to share the love and really hear that feedback from you. So really overwhelmed by that. So that's my first thing. But the second thing I think that's really important to say is we've mentioned Diana Rigg in this movie about not being the particularly most dynamic Bond girl, should we say. But on our next episode, a couple of weeks' time, we are going to be playing 007 Legends on Her Majesty's Secret Service. So she'll effectively be in the gameplay, Chris, and you will have to look her face to face.
Exciting. Okay, well, hopefully I don't have to talk to her about her position on my Bond ranking.
No.
But that'll be excellent to see. I'm looking forward to that.
Anything for you, Chris?
Yeah, I think I'll just, again, plug the Facebook page. I think the Facebook group is growing. It's really good to hear. I'll also plug my YouTube channel, Geek Figure Fan. So if anyone's interested in action figure reviews and news, please drop on there and subscribe. That'd be really helpful to me. But other than that, I think we've come to the end. So I think all that's left for us to say is thank you for watching the Bondcast, the ultimate Bondcast.
Bondcast. We'll get it ready next time. No, thank you very much for joining us. Take care. Bye.